So if you're here with me and watching this video, you've already watched a video on the Voyager mission and you've completed everything. But the big question is why? Why have we been doing all of these assignments? Is it just to check it off the list? Or is there something bigger? And the answer to that question is yes, it's bigger. Why is life so difficult to find? It's a question that we're going to look to answer. The biggest reason we haven't found life, actually, there's lots of reasons. I mean, space is huge. Not every planet has the atmosphere. We can't always visit those planets or make something safe enough to go there. And that's what you're going to seek to do. You are going to be researching and finding out how can I, one, get people to come to these planets, but two, build something that allows people to survive there long enough to possibly find life. And we've already watched the video on the Voyager mission. And so now we're going to talk about the poster project. You see, the poster project is the first assignment in this project. You must first pick a planet or a moon, research it, and determine its geography, its interesting features, and hazards to life. Then you're going to create a poster that convinces people to come visit your planet or your moon. Now, there's some rules to this, like, for example, it must be landable. You must include illustrations and interesting features that are unique to this planet. When we say the word unique, we mean that it is only found there. And you are only permitted to use the sites that I give you and the materials I give you for research, which you will see coming up soon. And this one obviously has to be digital. It's going to be done on the computer. Here's an example of one from a previous year that was done digitally. This student was exploring Venus, and their goal was to get you to come to Venus. And you can see lots of different things that they included. And this is one example of a poster and what it might look like. The other thing that you have to create is a shelter. You must create a shelter that is freestanding, that you are creating a shelter that allows people to survive the hazards that are unique to your planet. So for example, if you build a shelter that's fireproof, yet there's nothing that can really cause fires on your planet, well, then that doesn't really make any sense. But if your shelter is loaded with insulation to keep people warm because your planet is severely cold, that's a great example of something to help people survive, the survivability. Here are two examples that were built in class. You see, this one over here is called the mech. And this one over here was called the shot. And these kids that had made this had worked together to create a shelter using found materials. Now, you guys aren't going to be able to do that. We are actually going to use Tinkercad to create these. But this is just like a teaser. This is just like an introduction. So I don't expect you to know all the answers to how you're going to make this using Tinkercad. That's coming. Today, it's about task one, and it's about understanding some planets and some moons. You got to first choose one in order to even get to those constructions of the shelters and the posters. So let's start with what makes life difficult. Well, number one, atmospheric conditions. You see, here on Earth, we have oxygen, we have nitrogen, we have small amounts of what we call trace gases that could be poisonous, dangerous to us, but they don't necessarily hurt us because there's not a lot of them. You see, on other planets, the atmospheric conditions are harsh. They don't have the same amount of nitrogen we do and the same amount of oxygen we do. So what is one reason why life is so hard to find? Well, not every planet or moon has our atmosphere. The second thing is the position in the solar system, something known as the Goldilocks zone. You see, there's a video here that you're going to have a chance to watch to understand what the Goldilocks zone is. But the Goldilocks zone, just to give you a little bit of teaser of this, is the Goldilocks zone is simply a zone where you can live. It's where we live. We live in what's known as the Goldilocks zone. So there's a video I do want you to watch, and if you could pause this video for just a moment and watch it, and then come back. Now that you're back, let's talk about that Goldilocks zone. First thing I want you to do is I want you to take this gold circle and I want you to put it where you think the Goldilocks zone is. Pause the video to go ahead and put that where you think it is. Well, the Goldilocks zone, if you actually found it, is actually right around here. It's actually quite small. The Goldilocks zone, there is not much of a space for it to go. Now, the third reason that makes life so difficult is space is really big. You guys found that out when you did your astronomical units model. You see, let's take, for example, Uranus. See, Uranus is 2,871,000,000 kilometers from the sun. We found that to be, I think, 19.1 AUs, which is pretty big. In fact, if you were to look at this, it would take 8.5 years for us to travel to Uranus. So it's going to take a long time for us to find life if we wanted to travel to Uranus. I mean, if you left now, you would be basically a senior in high school or just out of high school by the time you got there. The other thing is stars. If I wanted to travel to our nearest star, it's called Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri, get this, is, I'm not even sure how to say that number. It's bigger than a trillion. It's bigger than a billion. It's bigger than a million. It is so far, it is 268,770 astronomical units away from Earth. Think about that. You guys did astronomical units. Pluto was 40.7. This is 268,000. I don't even have enough straws to make that model. It takes light. This is how far away Alpha Centauri is. It takes light 4.25 years just to get there. Light. Like if I were to shine a light from the sun, it would take the light from the sun to 4.25 years to get to the Alpha Centauri. If it wanted to be us, if you wanted to send us in a spaceship going as fast as we can, it would take us 100 years. 100 years just to get to Alpha Centauri. And we don't even know what's there when we get there. You see, space is huge. This is another reason life is so hard to find. And so when we start looking at the planets and you guys go into this and start thinking, okay, well, if I want to land on a planet and possibly search for life, there's a couple of choices. You have your inner planets. They're warmer. They typically have rocky surfaces and similar makings to Earth. And they're similar in size with little to no moons. But then you have the gas giants, which are much bigger. They're a lot colder because they're a lot further away from the sun. And they're mostly made of gas. So you really can't land on them. But they do have many moons. You see, moons are objects that orbit a larger body in our solar system. To give you an idea, Jupiter has 68 known moons. And a lot of those moons are similar in size to Earth. You see, one of Jupiter's moons might be the planet that you go to or the moon that you go to. Saturn is also known for its amazing moons. You see, when you pick a planet or a moon, you want to make sure you pick one that we can land on. You can't pick a gas giant because we just can't land. So we're going to talk about task one, and task one is in Google Classroom classwork. And that is what you're going to complete today. You are going to work on task one, Google Classroom classwork. Let me show you where that is. When you go there, you're going to notice it says Poster and Shelter Project weeks 3 and 4. And right now there's only one task, task one. And if you click on this, this is your task. You are going to first figure out how many landable objects can you find in our solar system. You're going to be able to work with a partner or possibly a group, and you're simply going to write those landable objects here. Put as many as you can find. Objects that you can land on. Don't research them, just use Solar System Scope to find as many as you can. Once you've done that, you're going to choose 3 of those landable objects. Just 3 of your favorites that you found in there. Maybe you go back in and you look, but your goal is to choose 3. Then once you've done that, your job is to then take those 3 and really research them. I want you to name it on this slide. I want you to tell me the atmosphere of it. I want you to place a picture over here. Tell me how far it is from the sun. Tell me how long it would take to travel to this planet. And tell me the interesting features, like what stands out to you. And last but not least, tell me the hazards, the things that can harm us. In all honesty, the things that can kill us. What are those things on this planet? Now, I've got some resources over here for you, and I want to walk you through them really quick because you can use them for each of the planets that you do. And remember, this part's with a group, so you guys can be doing this together. The first one is obvious, Solar System Scope. But the second one is actually NASA's Planet Site. It's a great site. You just click on the planet and it allows you to go and explore that planet. It lets you know lots of information about this planet. For example, the structure, time, Mars's neighbor, the history, rovers, what does it look like? And it's very easy to follow. Now, there are going to be games, but don't go playing the games because your goal is to find out information about Mars. And this is going to allow you to find some of that information. Now, that's just one site. Another site that I have for you is Epic. Now, what I have done for Epic is I have simply gotten all of you into my classroom. So all you do is you click on here and then you type in my code, PMS3765. Once you're in, you're just going to find your name. Now there is going to be your name. Your name is going to be somewhere in here. So if, for example, if I'm Colton, I go to Colton. And what I want to do from here is there's lots of places I can look. One of the places I can look is I can look up here in the search. Another place that I can look is I believe it's up here in what's called my mailbox. No, not my mailbox. But you can go to Colton Fox. There's not much here as far as up across the top, but you can search. And that's where you could begin searching for that planet. So if I chose to do Europa, which is a moon of Jupiter, well then I just search Europa. I think I spelled it wrong. Yeah, I spelled it wrong. Yeah, let's see if I can spell it right. Jeez Louise. So if I search up Europa, I should be finding some things in here. There's not anything there, so Europa might not be a good spot for this one. But if I wanted to find Titan, find exploring the moon, I could find different things about Titan's moon, and I could find lots of different information, not just the Tennessee Titans. It's going to require you to look some, but you're going to have to look through these to find them. And so this is another great resource that you have. The next resource that you have is called the travel time page. If you just click on it, it takes you to this PDF, and here you can find each planet and how long it takes you to get there. How long it would take if you were driving a car. What about riding on a rocket? What if you were traveling at the speed of light? How long would it take there? And that's kind of cool what you're looking at, because the distance here is the rate of travel, and you're thinking of the number of how long it would take to get to that place. And this is all done in hours. So how many hours would it take you to get there if you were riding a rocket? Like look at Neptune. Now some of you might say, Mr. Gann, well, I did a moon of Jupiter and I can't find anything about that. Well, that's fine. But I will let you know that the moon of Jupiter, moon of Jupiter is going to be the same distance it takes to get to Jupiter. So just use that number. So with that being said, that's your assignment and this is your task, and good luck, and everything is in there, what you need to do, including this slideshow that you just saw. It's going to be in there and uploaded as soon as I get it ready. So good luck, and I'll see you later.